Let's stay in the East. We're doing the Atlantic Division preview this week. We're starting with the Boston Celtics. This is their offseason overview. They re-signed no one. They added Chris Boucher to a 1-year deal, Luka Garza to a 2-year deal, Josh Minott to a 2-year deal, and Anthony Simons via that Drew Holiday trade with the Blazers. They said goodbye to Drew Holiday, to Al Horford, to Luke Cornett, to Georges Niang. He was stopped and had a cup of coffee, and then Kristaps Porzingis in that 3-team trade with Atlanta. What is your number one thing to watch for Boston this year, bro?
How much they're going to tank. That's my number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
How seriously are they going to take the tank?
Yes.
Because you look at the top three in the draft, Cameron Boozer, DeBansa, Darren Peterson. There's a lot of talent here. And I think with Jason Tatum probably not coming back this year, although he's on track to come back. Like from all the workout videos that I've seen, the way that he's talked, it seems like he's fighting to try to be on the court this upcoming season. I think that if that does happen, then things obviously change and expectations change. And it really just matters on the timetable of Jason Tatum, because if that's the case, then a move to secure a center is not out of the realm of possibility at the trade deadline for the Boston Celtics to try to make a playoff push. But I'm fully expecting this team to be around 500, maybe below it, led by Jaylen Brown and Derek White. And Anthony Simons now brings that scoring punch. But ultimately, I think this team's going to fall short of making the playoffs if Tatum doesn't play the entire year, which I think is probably what I'm expecting outside the last maybe 10 games of the year.
Yeah, for sure. The Tatum being on the court already is insane. That video obviously went viral for good reason, but you brought up something specific in there, and it's their big man rotation. That's what I'm looking at if they're going to be at all competitive this season. They have Neemias Queta, Chris Boucher, Luka Garza, and Xavier Tillman. That's their big man rotation. Is that good enough to get you a top 8 seed in the Eastern Conference? My answer to that is no. And I don't know what they could do or package up in a trade to get a viable big man. But they're at least going to start with that rotation, and let's see how long they stick with it. What's your record prediction for them?
I think I'm going to go like 40 and 42.
Got you. I'm going to go 36-46 for them. I got them finishing third in the division. Let's go to the bottom of this division, the Brooklyn Nets. Their offseason overview, they re-signed Day'Ron Sharpe to a 2-year deal, Cam Thomas on a 1-year deal, Zaire Williams on a 2-year deal. They added Kobe Buffkin via that trade with the Hawks, Hayward Highsmith, Terrence Mann, and Michael Porter Jr. Said goodbye to Cam Johnson in that MPJ deal, D'Angelo Russell, and Trendon Wofford. What is your one thing to watch for them?
What young player steps up? Cam Thomas is back, so he's going to take a lot of shots, and Michael Porter Jr. is there as well. He's going to have the green light. But it's amongst the 5 players they drafted, which one of them is going to be good? Who is going to be serviceable? Yegor Jemin is the big headline because he was a top 10 pick, and he's probably is the one that I'm most interested in seeing. How can he physically transition to the NBA game? Can he improve his jump shot? Can he be that floor general that they drafted him to be? That's what I'm looking forward to. One of these picks has to pan out. It's just who is it going to be? That's my question for the Nets.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of them has to step up. I'm going to bring it to a much bigger conversation, though. Has any team had worse luck over the last 1 to 2 decades? You think about the Boston Celtics massive trade in the 2010s. You think about the expectations that came with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and then James Harden that ultimately did not pan out and resulted in them playing 16 games together. Now, once you trade them with all those picks they got in those deals, they have not resulted to anything. So that's why there's even more pressure on this, because whenever I'm looking at or trying to come up with one thing to watch, I literally put nothing, because I feel like if you wanted to make a terrorist talk, you would show them Brooklyn Nets basketball this year. And that sounds bad, but that's how bad this team is going to be. What do you think their record's going to be?
I think they're going to be a 19-win team. I think they're that
Yeah.
bad. And the difference between a franchise that's seen a championship and one that hasn't seen a championship couldn't be more glaring with a team like the Nets and a team like, let's say, the Lakers, where the Lakers, even when things look bad, when there's drama, they still find a way to try to make their stars work together. An example of that is Kobe Bryant and Shaq. When I mean they did not get along, and it was well documented. With the Nets, their window to win a championship, and it might be their only window in the franchise's history, was KD, Harden, and Kyrie. Was that big three? And they gave them 13 games. They didn't try to prolong it. They didn't try to make it work further than that timeline. They sold everybody cheaper than what their value was outside of Kevin Durant, but they gave up Harden for Ben Simmons and Kyrie for Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, their window to win a championship was in that era, and them not holding on to those three players as long as they possibly can just showed their inexperience in being around championship caliber teams. That was their best chance. And when is another time in history of that franchise are we going to see them have three players that are as talented as KD, Kyrie, and Harden on their roster at the same time? That is a once in a generation thing, and they completely fumbled it.
Yeah, and we can sit here and look at the Milwaukee Bucks as bad of a situation that they're in. We understand why they're doing everything they can to keep Giannis. We understand that, and that's why. And that Brooklyn Nets team is much more talented than this Milwaukee Bucks team. So, at a much bigger level, yes, it was stupid in hindsight to do what they did, and I completely agree. I got them going 15-67 last in the division, like I said. Philadelphia 76ers is the next team. They re-signed Justin Edwards on a 3-year deal, Eric Gordon on a 1-year deal, your boy Quentin Grimes on a 1-year deal, Kyle Lowry on a 1-year deal, and they added Trendon Wofford in a 2-year contract. They said goodbye to Jared Butler, Ricky Council IV, and Gershon Yabusele to your New York Knicks. What's your one thing to watch for them?
If Embiid stays healthy, because if he does, it's going to be a top five team in the Eastern Conference. They have a lot of talent. Paul George, I don't think it's going to be as bad as last year. Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, McCain got hurt, so that's unfortunate. But Quentin Grimes is back. They have some good pieces on their team. I think trusting Embiid to stay healthy the entirety of the year is out the picture. Can he play 50 games? I think if he plays 50 games, this is a 42-40 team. I think they're going to make the playoffs, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they could just stay healthy.
Yeah, that's the number one thing to watch. It is health. It's the by far the hardest team to predict as far as a record total. I was looking at FanDuel and their number is 42.5, which is one above the Celtics, which I think is interesting. The Celtics are something that is pretty much on lock. We know what the roster is going to be, as decimated as it is. We at least know what to expect. With Philly, we have no idea what to expect, and that's why they have a similar number to Boston. I just put 39-43 because, to answer your question, I don't expect him to play 50 games. It's something I don't expect him to do. We're 18 months removed off a meniscus tear. He played, I think it was 19 games last year. He's only played in pockets since then, and I believe it will be the exact same way this season. Joel, let's get to your favorite team, the New York Knicks. Their offseason overview was this. They re-signed Mikal Bridges to a 4-year extension. They added Jordan Clarkson, Gershon Yabusele, and they said goodbye to Precious Achua. By the way, am I reading this right? Did they add Malcolm Brogdon?
They did.
Yes, they added Malcolm Brogdon on a 1-year deal as well. What's your one thing to watch?
The ball movement on offense. How much Mike Brown unlocks this offense. And I've seen a clip in practice and they're moving the ball excellently. I mean, I haven't seen that often in New York with Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah.
But the Knicks are going to be awesome. They're going to be a 60-win team this year. It's going to be one of the Knicks' best regular seasons in NBA history. And this is going to be one of the most fun teams to watch because I remember when the Kings were the number one offensive rating in the league, they were my number one league pass team that year. Now you bring that to the Knicks, that offense with how fun it is, the Knicks are going to be must-see TV.
They are, and my question, or one thing to watch, is on the other side of it. Is their defense at least middle of the pack with Mike Brown? That's all it has to be, because now you're going from one pendulum to the next. The Tom Thibodeau offense was selfish, hero ball, but their defense was able to at least be good enough to get them into the conference finals. I need that defense to stay the same and that offense to accelerate. If that's the case, you're right. This is a 60-win team. And I will go a step farther than this. And I will say this is an NBA Finals team and my prediction for the NBA championship in 2026. We have talked about this all offseason, how high I am on the New York Knicks. Not only did they get Mikal Bridges to take a pay cut, they filled their biggest two needs. And their biggest need was depth. They went out and did that in free agency. And their other biggest need was maybe a coaching upgrade. And hopefully Mike Brown is that. That's the biggest question mark of this team, but it doesn't deter me enough for me to not predict them to win an NBA championship.
I love the fact that you're going with the Knicks to win an NBA championship, going all the way in. I love it. I love it. We got a prediction. I was hoping we got one last week, but 1 week later is fine. The
Media day
season
had to
hasn't started
happen.
just yet. Yeah, you saw the Knicks clips in practice. You saw how they looked. You saw how they talked. I mean, that's a fine prediction to have, especially since you have the Nuggets making it out the West. And I mean, I think that's a matchup that the Knicks could win. That Karl Anthony Towns has always played well against Nikola Jokic. There's nobody that can guard Jalen Brunson on the opposite side. I mean, let's be serious. And we have the wings to neutralize Jamal Murray. So I think the Knicks winning the championship is well within reason and in the cards.
100%. And this is not an indictment on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the Thunder are going to be a force to be reckoned with for the next decade. The problem is what the facts point to. And the facts have been over the last 6 years in this new CBA, there has not been a repeat champion. And every single year, whoever wins the title, we crown them. Oh my God, they're going back to back. And OKC, it feels bigger than ever because we're in that moment. I promise you, last summer, Boston was the favorite to win the NBA title, and everybody liked their chances above any other team before them to actually repeat. And the year before that, it was Nikola Jokic. He was going to run through the Western Conference every single season, and it hasn't happened. So if guys as great as Nikola Jokic and everyone I just named can't do it, I don't know if Oklahoma City can recapture that. Not to mention the youth of this team. And I have nothing against OKC. It was a great title run, but I'm not going to sit here and look over what everybody in NBA media has looked over. The fact that there were 2 7-game series they had last year. And the first one was Denver, who had a rotation that was mostly injured. Michael Porter Jr. could not lift his right arm. Aaron Gordon was on a limp hamstring. You go into the NBA Finals, their second 7-game series. That was against an Indiana Pacers team who had the run of all runs. But if you look at this Knicks team and what they can be, they have gotten better as well. And same with Denver and all the upgrades they made in the offseason. That is why my prediction is what it is. It's not an indictment to OKC. It's just the fact that we've had repeated evidence of not repeating in this CBA.
And it seems like the Knicks are emphasizing defense with Mitchell Robinson being in the starting lineup in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
He started with Brunson, Mikal, Cat, and Dottier. We know that's going to be OG when he's going to play. But it's a good sign. It's good that we see that Mike Brown is playing the young guys, having Dottier in the starting lineup, but also that we're going with size and defense and rebounding in that starting lineup because his offense is going to be a lot of motion, dribble handoffs, big body, setting screens, getting space for those guards to dribble in space. So I think the Knicks have a real shot of making the NBA Finals and winning the whole thing.
For sure. Let's get to the final team in this division. It's Toronto Raptors. Here's their offseason overview. They re-signed Jakob Poeltl, Garrett Temple. They added, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. They said goodbye to Chris Boucher. What's your one thing to watch for them?
It's a lot of different things.
I can start. I'll say this. It's spacing. Emmanuel Quickly is a 37% three-point shooter. That's the best on the team. Brandon Ingram's 36%. That's the second best on the team. RJ Barrett's 34%. That's the third best on the team. Scotty Barnes, we know what kind of shooter he is, 30%. So when those are your top 4 options as far as spacing and shooting the three-point ball, that's going to be a problem. And as weak as this East is, how expensive their roster is a problem. And I think that's why it converts to a record of 35-47.
I'm higher on them than you. I think they're going to go 41-41. I like the Raptors this year. I think it's an odd fit, but they're good players. Scotty's a good player. Brandon Ingram's a good player. And Ingram now provides that shot creating that they didn't have before. RJ Barrett, I think, is the odd man out. He had a career year last season, but he needs the ball in his hands to be his most successful. Emmanuel Quickly, I think, is an average starting point guard, getting paid like a great point guard. He is overpaid, but he's still a good player. And then they have some nice pieces off the bench with Grady Dick, Colin Murray Boyles, I was a big fan of out of South Carolina, and Jamal Shed, Mogbo. Like they have something brewing here. We just have to see how they fit on the court. So I think the thing I'm watching for them is just how well do they gel. And this is another team that another question for them is injuries because Brandon Ingram has an injury history. Scotty Barnes last year had some injuries. Last year the Raptors dealt with their fair share of injuries. So I think the Raptors, if they stay healthy, they're gonna be a good team, and I think they're gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with that. We can go through Eastern Conference teams if you want to right now, and you can tell me who you are leaving out because whenever it comes to the Toronto Raptors, yes, BI solves a need, but it doesn't solve the need. He cannot be your first or second option on a good team. And Scotty Barnes is always going to be the first option, but BI is a second option we have seen. And that's why whenever it comes to the Raptors, it just continues to be over and over. It feels like the same season. They're just good enough to make the play-in and not do much else. So we all agree the Cleveland Cavaliers are probably going to finish over them, correct? The New York Knicks, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Detroit Pistons, the Orlando Magic, the Atlanta Hawks. I believe that is one, two, three, four,
That's
five,
six.
six. Okay. And this is where it gets dicey.
The Miami Heat.
Miami Heat, seven. Do you want to have a conversation about Indiana or Boston? Take your pick.
I'd go with the Raptors over Boston. I don't know about Indiana. I think Indiana's closer, but I could see the Raptors being better than Indiana.
Okay. So Indiana, Boston's a conversation. Philly, if they're healthy, that's a conversation.
Yes, if they're healthy, it's a conversation.
And I want to throw in the team I was just visiting, the Charlotte Hornets, if they are healthy.
Oh yeah, that's a good bet.
And Philly isn't. We're gonna sit here and not talk about like how Philly isn't. I let you go on your entire soliloquy about if this, if that, and you're gonna sit here and troll Charlotte like that.
Hey, Charlotte, hey, will they have something brewing? We'll see if they can stay healthy.
You sneak this in their culture whenever I'm trying to talk about. I'm like, get serious. But anyways, so we all agree seven teams are above them, so the eighth seed is the thing, and the conversation is between Boston, Indiana, and Philly. I like all three of those chances over Toronto.
So you think Toronto's gonna get a top 10 pick again?
Yes.
Maybe. I mean, it might be the best for them if they do that, but I think this roster is a little bit too good to do that. I actually am a believer in this roster, oddly enough.
But what makes you believe in this roster? There is no spacing. There is no.
It's just mid. It's just mid.
Yeah, it's a mid-ass team that I feel better having Jalen Brown and Derek White on my team.
Well, you have Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickly and Brendan Ingram and RJ Barrett
I want to hit
and
that like
Yaka
LeBron meme right now.
Pirtle.
I want to
They
hit that
have
like
Yaka
LeBron meme.
Pirtle. They don't have a center. These guys have Yaka Pirtle. The Raptors do.
Do you know how many times I've watched John Morant baptize that man?
Yeah, John Morant's John Morant. Was this years ago or
You
was it
can say that.
recently?
No. You can say that again. Repeat that last sentence.
John Morant is John Morant.
Okay, good.
But how long ago
I just
was
want to
this?
take it
Was
in.
this years ago or was this recent?
I'm pretty sure it's been collateral damage year over year over year.
Okay.
It was not just one or two instances.
Okay.
But if you watch small market teams, you'd probably know that.
Yeah, maybe. I gotta tune into more Memphis games, I guess. I gotta watch more John Morant and basketball, Jalen Wells.
I can't wait for the content of this show whenever, the twice a year that the Knicks and the Grizzlies play because I'm going to be so humble in my losses or wins.
Well,
And
we
I think it's going
beat
to be
you
the other
guys.
way around. Huh?
They had a game winner against you guys this past season.
I know. I'm aware. I was there and it was heartbreaking. By the way, Knicks fans, I do want to give y'all this. Y'all travel like no one else because I swear to God, I was in like a Knicks student section whenever I was watching that game winner
It makes the most sense. I mean, the tickets are less expensive.
for sure. And Knicks fans, by the way, are not nearly as mean as I thought they were. But anyways, besides the point, this is my Atlantic Division ranking as far as record goes, and based on our predictions, the Knicks 60 and 22 are at number one. 76ers are at number two, 39 and 43. At number three is the Boston Celtics, 36 and 46. Raptors at four, 35 and 47. Nets at five, 15 and 67. I know we disagree on the win totals, but do you agree on the order?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to mine. Knicks, Sixers, Raptors, Pacers, Celtics, I think are all in a tier
Yeah,
amongst each other. And then, the last team, the Nets.
for sure.